Good morning to everyone joining us on Facebook, and good morning to everyone here in the sanctuary. I'm Travis Wiley. I'm not the official person that's normally up here, but Jean McGee is taking a well-deserved and a much-needed little vacation over the Thanksgiving weekend. She's in Oakland, California, visiting her son. So we just wish Jean a good Thanksgiving holiday and hope she's doing well. And so we start off this month. This is the month of November, and the power for the month of November is elimination or release, as we like to call it in our modern day vernacular. The power of release, and the affirmation that goes along with that is, I release anything and everything that no longer serves my unfolding good. And I think that's a really neat, the fact that the power of the month for November is release. And that's also when we start entering into that Advent season, which starts next Sunday. We'll start Advent. And that's the whole purpose of Advent. It's kind of looking back at the year so far and releasing and letting go of what needs to be released in the year ahead. We have our Christ candle lit today. Unity of Little Rock, we are very, I guess it's an understatement to say that we're very big on prayer. Unity Church, its entire ministry has been, to some degree or another, been built on prayer. With the silent unity, of course. So the Christ candle is lit to remind us of our own Christ light within us. That spark of divinity that we are united with, that glows and that shows in our life. We have our daily word for today. The daily word is grace. I just love this word of grace. And the affirmation with it is, grace is my constant blessing. Grace is my constant blessing. And I love the reading in today's daily word. I didn't want to read the whole thing, but there was this one little snippet I wanted to put on there because I thought it was so significant. It's, love is active everywhere and at every moment. And that's what, to me, that's what grace is. It's the grace of love that's active everywhere and every moment. And that spiritual quality of grace is available to all of us at any time. Now we have our statement of being. So let's say this together, if you will, with me. I am an individualized expression of God. I am ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. We also have our prayer box up. And again, prayer being the foundation for unity and for a daily work, for silent unity as well. If anyone has a prayer request, you can put it in the prayer box and it will be prayed over here. And then we send it on to silent unity. And now we want to turn the service over to our prayer chaplain and Miss Linda Strickland. So Linda.
Thank you, Travis. And everyone, welcome. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your presence in this moment in time. And the other day, before we get into our prayer, I was thinking about the year and Thanksgiving and all the turmoil we've been through, the lies we've heard, the truths we heard, and our discernment as to what is fact and what isn't. And people have experienced sadness, anger, joy, turmoil, loss, gain, and we've experienced a roller coaster of life in this last year. And I thought, what is the world giving us that we can find joy in? And I glanced out the window and I thought, wow, look at the trees. We kind of expected them not to have the same glory and beauty that they've had in the past, but they bounced out with such vibrant color and showed their joy, showed their gratitude for the sun and the waters that provided them sustenance. And I thought, this is a gift. Spirit Earth is giving us a gift. What joy. The present moment of joy. How we sometimes overlook the simple things that surround us to give us joy. And there was such joy in the vibrant colors this fall. And just know that the simplest things of life can provide us joy. And now kind of move into our prayer for today. And we affirm that I am open. I open myself via my soul, higher power, to the guidance and enlightenment that is the present moment before me now. I am thankful for the giving and now receiving of this present moment. God is. God is with me now. God is ever present, always. He lives in me, is me. God is the universe, as I am of the universe. Be still to know that I am God. I give thanks for this selfless gift. I am the present moment. God abides within me. I am giving thanks for this giving of life that animates my beingness. I am receiving this gift and give myself to the unifying with all that is. Thank you. I know and I can. I know and I can be of the present moment. I give thanks for the opportunities of this present moment. I know and I can give love unconditionally, achieve unity with God, the universe, and give of myself as heart guides me. I know and I can give thanks for the giving of God's gifts. I appreciate where my life is in this present moment. I am thankful for the opportunities, gifts placed before me. I appreciate the receiving of these gifts that I may give to God, soul, life, here and now, as I am led to do. Thankful I am, full of appreciation for the giving, so that I may give in greater measure. And so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much, Linda, for that beautiful prayer. We're going to move right into the lesson. I kind of realized this morning, I woke up early, and I've been getting this done, and y'all know Gene McGee usually does this, and then I thought, music! Oh my goodness, I hadn't thought about music, so I did get the peace song in at the end, so I was up early. But normally we'd have a song interlude now, but I'm going to jump right into the lesson. And you know, this is a topic that Jeannie actually recommended for me. She suggested, I'm hoping she can go back and watch this. She said, you need to talk about your experiences when I made my boondocking trip to Arizona. So, you know, when I was getting ready for this talk, I have to say it has been a challenge. You know, I always considered a big responsibility when I asked to speak at UnityLR. You know, I want to try to present something that's going to be edifying and uplifting and inspiring, and it's going to help you on your spiritual journey as you're going through your pathway. And I've got such a high standard. You know, Jeannie presents such great talks for us on the Sundays that she speaks. She's always so diligent. She's a great researcher. She puts together fantastic material. And then, of course, you know, we have either Debris or Russ. When they come and speak, they always do a great job. So I was feeling a little bit of pressure, too, because I knew I've got this standard that I've got to try to live up to. And truthfully, I mostly feel inadequate. I mostly feel inadequate every time I ever speak in front of Unity Church. But I'm going to try to do my best. So I am going to share with you today some of my recent experiences, my recent adventure boondocking in Arizona. So first of all, what is boondocking? You know, that was something I didn't really understand what that was, but boondocking is basically, it's just the old-fashioned way of camping. It's where, you know, you just take a tent, a sleeping bag, and some food, and you just go out in the woods somewhere, and you find a place, and you set up, and you camp. None of this, you know, state parks, none of these, you know, facilities, nice restrooms, and none of this campground and campsites and barbecue grills and all of that. You're actually literally just boondocking. Well, I didn't even know you could do that anymore necessarily, but did you know here in Arkansas that the Ozark National Forest and the Buffalo National Park, they all have boondocking sites. I mean, you can go back in fact, in the Ozark National Forest, you can camp anywhere. You can camp anywhere. Now, they do ask that you try to stay in designated, you know, previously used campsites. But you can boondock anywhere. So boondocking is just good old-fashioned camping the way it used to be. But again, it's boondocking without facilities. Now, again, some of you may have heard me talk about this, because this was back in September. I have been talking about it. But that way this all came about was my friend Chloe, a friend I've had for over 20 years. In fact, I first met Chloe right here at Unity Church when she lived in Little Rock, and she began attending Unity Church here for a while. And that's when I first met her. And she was the one who was taking on this van life way of life. She was transitioning to a nomad way of life. And I knew she'd been doing this because we've stayed friends over the years. But she was living in Atlanta at the time. She lived here in Little Rock and worked for Alltel, and they got bought out by Verizon, and then she got transferred to Atlanta, and so she was in Atlanta at the time, and I knew she had retired, and now I'm kind of watching her, and then she bought this van, and then she's doing this van life, so I knew there was something going on with all that, but I really wasn't quite clear about it. Well, she was coming to Arkansas because she was getting ready to go on the road, is how they call it, to go on the road with this van life. And her parents live in Maumelle, so she was going to come and spend a couple, 2 or 3 weeks with her mom and dad before she traveled on out west to Arizona. Now, as I said, I first met Chloe back in Unity, probably back in 2003. And, you know, we've formed a really good friendship, and we've always stayed in touch over the years, and we always get together whenever she comes to Arkansas. So, you know, she was coming, and I was really anxious to see her, and I was really anxious to get a look at her van, and I've got a picture here. So there you go, there's some photos of her van. So she had it's a Chevrolet van that she took and took out the seats. I mean, and this was like a 9-month process that she went through of outfitting this van. And let me tell you, she is absolutely passionate about living this van life. We got together, and she came down to the house, and I fixed us a meal, and then she wanted to show me YouTube videos. And so she's sharing with me these YouTube videos of these people she's been watching. And she's been connected with a Facebook group of these van life people. So she's all connected with a private Facebook group, because that's how she's been learning and getting information and meeting people. Well, you know, as she's talking about it, and she's all enthusiastic about it, well, I'm getting enthusiastic about it. Wow, this is really pretty neat. You know, it's like her passion and her zeal was contagious, and it just picked me right up. Now, as I've been processing this story, you know, a big part of the story is her story, what my friend Chloe did. Now, you know, as I said, she had retired, and she's about my age. I don't want to say how old she is, but she was old enough to retire from Verizon, and she retired here a couple of years ago, living in Atlanta, and she bought herself a nice little home. It was like a retirement community. Now, you know, Atlanta is just super packed right now with people, you know, but she bought this nice little place in a retirement community where you had to be 55 or older to even live there. So, and she bought it and fixed it up. And one thing about my friend Chloe, she has got excellent taste. She's got beautiful taste. And I'd seen pictures, again, on social media. I'd seen photos of her doing her work. And she had this beautiful little, it was like a prefab home, but it was just beautiful. She had it decorated. She had it all set up. And she was good to go. And she said, after she got it fixed up, she was there. She'd been living in it for a couple of months. And, you know, most of the people there were even older than she was, because, you know, it's a retirement community, and she's in this nice little home. But she said one day it just struck her. I've just bought my coffin. I've bought the home I'm going to die in. And she said it absolutely freaked her out. Absolutely freaked her out. It repulsed her it repulsed her sense of freedom, her sense of independence to such a degree that she decided that she was going to, if you'll excuse the colloquialism, she was going to take a left turn at Albuquerque, which means she was going to take a completely different direction in her life. She sold her home, sold her possessions. She had a really nice Jeep. She sold her Jeep. She bought a used van, a Chevrolet van. She invested thousands of dollars in fixing it up. Now, I didn't get a lot of pictures of it. I got some of the outside of the van. Let's see. We'll see one later. You know, fixed it all up, got it ready to go, and she decided she was going to embrace and live the modern day nomad life of being a van life person. Yeah. Now, I got to tell you, at some point in our conversation, when she's talking about all of this, you know, I'm going to be honest with you. My first thought was, has she lost her friggin' mind? What is she thinking? You know, you can't live in a van. You know, I'm like, oh my goodness. But then I thought, she needs someone to go with her. Because she's getting ready to go to Arizona to meet a bunch of people that she's never met before. She's communicated with them through Facebook, and she's watched their YouTube videos, but she's never actually met these people. And she is going to embark on this way of life. Now, keep in mind, she had been practicing this way of life. Once she got her van up and she sold her place, well, she had nowhere to live, you know. But she had friends in Ohio, so she actually spent several months of summer in Ohio. They had land. They let her camp out there on their land so she could practice living the van life lifestyle before she went officially on the road. Well, you know, so she was prepared for this, but I kept thinking, this is insane. Well, then, almost immediately after that thought was the thought, well, I should go with her. And then that kind of threw me back. I thought, wait a minute. I know part of that was based in my genuine concern for her safety and well-being because, you know, she's a dear friend. I care about her. You know, I want her to be safe. But then I also realized part of it was because, hey, that would be a fun, neat little thing to do, you know. But almost immediately when I had that thought that I should go with her, the next thought was, well, there's no way I can do something like that. There is no way. You know, my jackals began to talk big time. Now, if you don't know what jackals are, that's a term we use in nonviolent communication, and it's that little voice in the back of your head, you know, whenever you think you're going to do something, it's like, you can't do that, are you crazy, you're not good enough, and you blah, 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 all the reasons why we can't live our life, those are the jackals. And my jackals went off big time, and I really didn't think much about it, you know, because, you know, I thought, well, they're right, you know, I can't take off work. You know, it would be fun, but, you know, we would probably drive each other crazy because, you know, we're that kind of friends. And we're the kind of friends that we do really good for short periods of time, every couple of years. But anything more than that, we probably start getting on each other's nerves too much. And, you know, I just had all my excuses. But the thought would not go away that this is something I'm supposed to do. And that's the best I can explain it. It was just something within me. This is something I'm supposed to do. And I didn't know what it was, so I meditated. You know, I used my unity principles. You know, I needed some clarity. I needed some guidance about what am I supposed to do here. So I meditated on it, and from my meditation, it was just crystal clear. I was supposed to go. Now that was presented a little bit of a problem because I had not been invited to go. You know, she had not been. There had been no discussion about me going. You know, and I knew she was a little nervous, a little apprehensive about it. It was obvious in our conversation, but she had not mentioned it. So I brought it up to her. I just brought it up to her. How would you like me to tag along? And she was overjoyed. She said, "Oh my goodness!" She said, "Thank you." She said, "I wanted somebody to go with me. I didn't know." She said, "I couldn't ask. I didn't." So she said, "But you think you could?" And so I said, "Yeah, I think I could." So I made the arrangements. It was short notice, and I know my patient thought I was crazy. My staff thought I was crazy. My family thought I was crazy. What are you doing? You're doing what? You're closing up next week? And I mean, this was just like rescheduling a whole week's worth of appointments so I could run out there and do this thing, you know. But I knew I had to go, and so I made it happen. Now, if I stop the story right here, there's probably 3 or 4 or 5 really good unity lessons that can be taken out of just what I've experienced so far. And, you know, I had to suspend my judgment. You know, at first when she started talking about this, my judgment was like, are you crazy? That's stupid. Who would do that? That's what, you know, all my negative thoughts. I just immediately dismiss it. And how often do we do that in life? We hear a new idea and immediately we just dismiss it because for whatever, without even giving it some thought. Well, I had done that, but I had to suspend my judgment. I had to open my mind to the idea of living the band life. And I had to open my mind to the idea of my friend embracing that way of life and open my mind that it was the right step for her to be taken. I had to eliminate my negative thoughts, my limiting beliefs about what was possible. And I had to use my power of imagination to visualize and to see it happening, to see it happening for her and to see it happening for me. And I had to be grateful for the wonderful opportunity. So I'm going with her to Arizona. We left on a Wednesday morning. The first day we went to Oklahoma City. You know, she likes to travel slow. And this was another very interesting lesson for me. You know, I'm a guy, and for those of you who know me, I like to be in charge of things, and I've had my own business for my entire life. I'm used to driving and being the boss and calling the shots, but this was her show. This was her show, and so one thing she wanted to do all the driving. And she knows I'm a good driver, and I've driven her vehicles in the past, but this was her home. She had this idea, and I can understand that. This is my home. I don't want anyone else driving it except me. So I said, that's fine. Well, you know what? That turned out to be beautiful. I can't remember the last time I went on a long road trip and didn't have to drive. I was just able to sit back and enjoy the scenery and take photos and just participate. And then she did all the driving, and she doesn't like to drive 5 or 6 hours a day. So the first day we went to Oklahoma City, but the second day we went to Tucumcari, New Mexico. Now, folks, this is another part of the story that's very interesting from my aspect because Tucumcari, I had been wanting to go to Tucumcari all year long. I love Tucumcari because I was born in Tucumcari. I was actually born in Tucumcari, New Mexico. I was only 2 years old when we moved, so I've got very, very little memory of it. You know, but I've always felt this strong connection to Tucumcari. And I go back I make regular visits to Tucumcari. And luckily, my dad's family's still in the Panhandle of Texas, so we go out for family reunions, and it's all worked out. But we didn't have the reunion in 2020 because of the pandemic. But anyway, I've been wanting to go to Tucumcari, so the second night we stayed in Tucumcari. And what you got here is a picture of Dale's restaurant. I don't know if you've ever been to Tucumcari, you need to eat at Dale's. It was actually established in 1957, the year I was born. So, you know, it's been around for a long time. And we stayed at a place called the JX Ranch, and the photo there, the little cabin and the van, that's the ranch house where we stayed. And the other photo, so I mentioned I was born in Tucumcari. When I lived in Tucumcari, my dad had a J.I. Case farm implement dealership, Case tractor dealership. And that building, that brown building that's kind of in the background there, that actually was my dad's shop. When I was born, that's where and I was actually named Travis, was one of his employees that worked for him in the shop that he really respected and admired. He was a good worker. And when I was born, and him and my mom were trying to come up with names, and he chose the name Travis based on someone that worked for him in that shop. Now, again, you know, Tucumcari has a lot of significance for me, and I was really glad to get a chance to stay there. We stayed at this JX Ranch. We stayed in the bunkhouse. It was just super cute. I got a picture of the inside. I mean, this woman had, and there was a whole story. I could do a whole Unity lesson just around the woman that runs this ranch. She was from Sweden, and she was probably my age. She might have been a few years older than me now. But when she was in her 20s, living in Sweden, she became fascinated with the American West and with cowboys. And she immigrated to the United States and moved to New Mexico so she could become a cowboy. She talked about moving there. She had no job, didn't know any people. She got a job as a waitress at a restaurant in Tucumcari, which back in those days, Tucumcari was on Route 66, and it was a major thoroughfare. So it was a happening place back then, especially. But then she ended up, you know, she got married, and then fast forward, and now we got this big 900-acre ranch 20 miles south of Tucumcari, and that's where we stayed. And that other photo is a picture of Tucumcari Mountain. if you ever drive I-40 West and you go out that direction, you're going to go right past Tucumcari Mountain. Well, then the next night we went to Concha, Arizona, the third night, and that was a beautiful place. We had a beautiful desert sky, had hummingbirds, there was a cat that was there, it was nice. We had a beautiful night sky. Now, we're moving up to the full moon, so this was a couple of nights before the full moon. We then had beautiful sunrise the next morning. Now, we got up that morning from Concha and we went on into Flagstaff. From Concha, Arizona, we were only just a couple of hours from the campsite. So we went the next morning, we went and had lunch at Flagstaff. And about 3 o'clock the next afternoon, we rolled into the campground. And this is kind of give you an idea of what the campground looked like. So, you know, the van, of course, can only sleep one person. So, you know, we set up camp and, you know, I've got a tent. And so I'm actually sleeping in the tent. She's sleeping in the van. And we got this little area. And she's taking good care of me. She's really appreciative of me coming. So, you know, she's got a nice foam pad for me to sleep on. And she's got a really nice a sleeping bag that's down to 30 degrees. And then, you know, so I was comfortable. I had my stuff. And, you know, we set up our little, if you can see it to the side there, she had a little bathroom tent and a little shower tent. So she had a way for taking care of all those needs. And we had our food with us. And so, you know, we had everything that we needed. We set up everything and you just took a few minutes to relax. And I can remember that day we had everything set up. And I get to thinking, you know, it's just nice and quiet, very quiet. You know, the airport's about 15 miles away, so you hear a plane come over occasionally, and then the freeway is about a half mile away. You hear an occasional loud truck, but it was so quiet. But as I sat there, I just became acutely aware, you know, man, there's nothing here. There's no electricity. We've got no water. The only water we had was the water we hauled in with us. You know, no facilities of any kind. And I began to panic. I began to panic. Oh my gosh, what am I thinking? I'm going to be here for 3 days with absolutely nothing to do. I'll have my phone. Thankfully, she's got solar panels on this van, so we got some power so we could be able to charge our phone up every day. But you know, it's not like you had enough power to watch TV all day long or to stream movies all day long, or, you know, who would want to do that anyway, I guess. And to make matters worse, I didn't have a vehicle. You know, and I'm kind of a person where if I go somewhere, I always want to make sure I got my own escape route. You know, I got my own way of getting gone if I need to get going, you know. And here I'd put myself, and I'm really, at this point, I'm second guessing myself big time. You know, what was I thinking? What am I going to do for this next 3 days? Well, I'm sure that's probably happened to some of you. You know, so you got in the middle of doing something. Maybe it was something you thought long and hard over. It was a difficult decision. Maybe it was something you really wanted to do, so you did it. And then when you get right in the middle of it, you're going, what was I thinking? I want to do this. How can I get out of this? So I knew I had to get grounded. I knew I had to get settled within myself, not only for me, but for my friend. You know, she was going through her own experience. You can imagine what she's going through, because she's the one that's actually still out there. You know, she's still out there living this lifestyle. So she was going through her experience. So I wanted to be supportive for her. And, you know, she certainly wasn't in a state to be supportive of what I was going through, you know. So I did what I've learned in Unity. I took it to prayer. I took it to meditation, you know, and I got in the tent and I just sat there quietly. And as I sat there, it came to me. And I knew what I needed to do. And I got to say, don't you love, on these phones, don't you love the Note app on your phone? Yeah, I love the Note app. Because on my Note app on my phone, from previous trips, and I even threw a couple of things for this trip, I had copied all sorts of documents for prayers and meditations. And I opened up my Note app and I went to the welcoming prayer. Now, I know some of you may be familiar with this, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it now because we're going to actually do this for our meditation here when I finish up the service here. But I went to this welcoming prayer. Now, I know Jeannie has shared it here at the service before. I first got this prayer of someone I know of who's a therapist that shared this with me many years ago, and I just absolutely love it. I did the opening prayer, and that absolutely did the trick. after I went through this process, I got settled, I felt completely calm, completely at peace, and I made a decision. I made a decision in that moment that I was going to live in the moment for the next 3 days. That I was going to live in the moment with no expectations of anything going any way, with no desire for anything to go in any particular way. I just completely let go of what I thought the next 3 days are going to look like. And it just became an open and receptive to whatever comes. And I also realized I'm only 15 miles from the airport, and I did have a return flight ticket home, so if I had to, I could walk to the airport. I'm in pretty good shape. So that was a little bit in the back of my mind, too. I really wasn't helpless. I wasn't helpless. But I was determined that I was going to enjoy that 3 days. But my renewed attitude was put to the test almost immediately. Let's see, do I have a slide of this? The very first night we were there, now keep in mind, we've had beautiful weather. The very first night we were there, it rained. Oh, it rained. So I'm set up in the tent, and it's really about 9 o'clock. It's coming, we're kind of crashing out. One thing when you're boondocking, when it gets dark and you got limited power, it's just time to go to bed. It's time to crash out and go down. So about the time the clouds had been moving in and it started raining. And oh my goodness, I was in the tent and she was in the van and it was raining hard and it was thundering and it was lightning. But fortunately, it was a fast-moving, I don't know what happened to our Zoom just ended, but nobody had zoomed on anyway, so I guess it would be okay. So anyway, it started raining, it was thundering, it was lightning, but it was a fast-moving front. And within about 30 minutes, the main rain had gone past, and then it just kind of off and on showered for a few hours after that. And then the sky became clear, and it was absolutely beautiful. Now, I stayed dry. The tent didn't leak, and I didn't get any water inside the tent, so everything was good there. It wasn't too cold, so I stayed warm enough, and I got through that first night. It was absolutely beautiful. The next morning, I got up early, super early, because as it turns out, Arizona does not observe daylight savings time. So, and of course, daylight savings time was going on here, but not out there. So I was 2 hours off my regular schedule. So that meant every morning I was waking up between 3:30 and 4 o'clock every day. Because I normally wake up between 5:30 and 6 o'clock here. So I woke up super early, and that was okay. I took the time. I just took some time to meditate. I did my readings, had my flashlight, I did my morning readings, I did my meditation. And then as soon as it started getting daylight, I took off hiking. And that first day, I just took off hiking south. I just picked a direction. I'm going to go south and see what I find. I hiked, got to the end of the campsite. Well, I just kept going. I thought, let me just keep going. There was a little ridge. I thought, well, I wonder what's on the other side of that ridge. I went up and hiked over that ridge, and that's when I came to these beautiful fields of yellow flowers. It was absolutely spectacular. Now, they've had some rain in places. I think we'd had rain the night before, but it's been wetter than usual, so everything was green. The desert is gorgeous whenever it's got water. And so we had these beautiful flowers, and I hiked for probably half an hour through this, and it never ended. It just kept going. Well, it finally ended whenever I came off that ridge, and it was going off, but it was just absolutely, absolutely spectacular. So the next day, I got up again early, and I just headed off east. And it was the same thing. The next day I got up and I headed off west. Y'all, it was absolutely beautiful. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I love to hike. That's kind of one of the things I do. And so it was great. I would get up every morning, in my tent, and I would do my daily meditation, my daily readings. And as soon as the sun would start to break, I'd pack up my little backpack and get my snacks and get ready, and off I would go. I would take off. And it was perfect. I'd be gone all morning. I'd go hike for a few hours. I would come back. And then in the afternoon, my friend would be up and around. And then we'd go out and we'd do another hike in the afternoon. So it was great. I got to hike in the morning. I got to hike in the afternoon. Now, on Sunday night, there was a gathering at the camp. There was an unofficial leader, well, I guess actually the administrator of the Facebook group that she belonged to. He was camping there, and there were several people that she knew through this group that she was meeting. And so, but they had a bonfire, and you know, it was really neat because I got a chance to meet some of these people living this lifestyle, including, I mean, some of the people whose YouTube videos I'd been watching were there, you know. And you know, and I thought, well, this lifestyle, one of my jackal thoughts earlier on was, she's too old to be doing this. I would be too old to be doing this. I'm thinking this has got to be a young person's game. I got there, most of the people, there were probably about 20 people that were band lifers living this lifestyle, were there that night. We all went around, everybody introduced themselves and told a little bit about themselves, how long they'd been on the road. The oldest was a woman who was in her 70s. She was 73 or 74, and she'd been on the road for 7 years, living a full-time van life for 7 years. Many of these people are retired individuals. They find that, you know, they just like the freedom, they like the independence, to be able to travel. You know, maybe it's a financial concern. They can live cheaper that way, and they get their retirement, they get their source of income. I met one man who actually ended up taking me to the airport. His name was Mark, and he shared his story with me of how a few years, he'd been on the road for a couple of years now, but he was a retired engineer, and he had built this, him and his wife had built this big, beautiful, their dream home. While he was getting ready to retire, he retired, they moved into their dream home, and were going to enjoy life together. She got cancer, and she died within a 3-month period of time. And he said he was just devastated. He said, I couldn't stay in this house. So he sold the house. He said, I sold the house. I gave the money to my kids. He outfitted his van, and he went on the road. He was in a Ford Expedition. Well, he was in a Ford Expedition, and it was completely safe. He could have been parked right out here in our parking lot, and you wouldn't have known he was living in that vehicle, you know. But you know, and he had money, he had a daughter he wanted to stay with. But so it kind of really broke away some of my preconceived ideas of who it is that's leading this van life. And I did meet younger people too, you know, that are leading it as well, including a couple that was there, and they were leading this van life. As I continue to process this trip, I continue to find lessons and to find epiphanies. And I think the biggest lesson, again, is just a lesson of courage. A lesson of courage and bravery that my friend displayed, that Chloe displayed. You know, to follow her heart, to take a risk, to sell everything she owned, you know, to invest in this way of life, and to venture into completely unknown territory, to me, is commendable. You know, I don't know if I could do it. No, I really don't think I could. And let me tell you, she did her homework. Now, no, she didn't do this, you know, without thought, without planning. One thing about my friend, she is extremely organized, and she is a planner, to the point that drives me crazy sometimes, because I tend to not plan as well as I need to, maybe. But she had gone through, she had done her homework, so she had this all, you know, every detail worked out. Her passion and her commitment, even in the face of her fears and anxieties. How often do we let our fear squash our passion, or squash our commitment for fear and our anxieties for what might happen? She overlooked all of that. And again, her passion was contagious. You know, she has inspired me to follow her lead and say yes to life. Now don't worry, that doesn't mean I'm going to be abandoning my lifestyle and buying a van. I'm not going to do that. But I came back from that trip, and she inspired me. You know, this is a kind of an important time for me. You know, I've been struggling for several months, probably for a year, you know, as I'm getting older. And through this pandemic, and through all the toils, the turmoil, the trouble with that, and just, you know, what am I doing with my life? You know, what am I here for any longer? You know, I made a decision that I am going to say yes to my life. I'm going to let go of my limiting beliefs, my limiting thought patterns, and I'm going to say yes to life, and I'm going to embrace life fully for whatever years I have left. And isn't that what we do as Unities? We say yes to life. we live and we practice the principles of truth. We come to this greater understanding of how these 12 powers work in our lives. And we embrace life. We embrace life fully. There's another aspect of this trip that was very significant for me. As it turns out, my last night in Flagstaff at the campground was on the fall equinox. And it was a full moon. So it was the full moon fall equinox in September. Well, that was a bookend to a trip that I had taken back in Easter. So, some of you may have seen my video or heard me talk about this. In Easter, my son and I went on a hiking adventure. We went to Tallahassee, Oklahoma, and we hiked the trailhead of the Washita Trail. And we actually stayed in Hotel, Oklahoma, which is about 30 miles from the trailhead, but that was the nearest hotel. We weren't camping that weekend. So we were staying in a hotel, and we did a couple of days of hiking, and it was beautiful. But then on Sunday morning was Easter. That Sunday morning, Easter morning, I went up to Kavanaugh Hill, which is the world's highest hill, it says. It's not. But it's at elevation 1,999 feet. And Joseph and I, we had seen the turnoff. We were coming back from our hike one day. We'd seen the turnoff, and you go up, and it's like in this road, and you wind all the way up there, and there's cell phone towers up there and all. But there's a sunrise lookout point. This beautiful little, you walk out there, and it's just, facing east. And so I got up early that Easter morning, and I thought, I'm going to go up to that sunrise point because I thought there might be an Easter service. A lot of places, churches do sunrise Easter services. Well, I got up there, and lo and behold, there was not a soul up there. I could not believe it. I was there I did have a brief visit. A couple of guys who were running came and stopped by, but I just had this beautiful experience, and you can see the sunrise there. It was absolutely magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. So I go up there to that sunrise point, and now I'm in Flagstaff, the full moon at the fall equinox. And what came to me is that what had been planted as seed at Easter in the spring, at the spring solstice, came to fruition in the fall, at the fall equinox. And that's why these cycles of the year are so significant for human development. Because we go through these cycles of the year, and then we grow and we develop. As I said, I've been struggling for some time with this idea of getting older and feeling like, my best years are behind me. I hate that feeling. I hate that feeling. My best work's been done. My best years are behind me. And you know what? In Flagstaff, Arizona, I rejected all of that. I said, no, absolutely not. My best years are ahead of me. My greatest work is ahead of me. The best is yet to come. Before going to Flagstaff, my creativity had just been completely squashed. I try to do, I have a YouTube channel, so I do videos, and so I do video editing. I hadn't put anything out in months because every time I sat down to the computer to try to put something together, it was just, nothing was coming to me. I came back from Flagstaff, and it was like all of my creative juices were flowing once again. I probably put out a half a dozen videos since I got back from Flagstaff. I had tons of material to put together. I realized I was fighting these feelings, fighting this depression, fighting this, I was giving up on life. But my friend Chloe, this trip to Arizona, I think I was supposed to help her. She needed assistance, and I'm happy to say she's doing well. I felt so good to get her out there, and then to back up after meeting all of these people. We had a cleanup day one Sunday morning. Some campers had left a bunch of trash, and so these people, like wherever they're staying, they keep it neat because they don't want the service rangers, park rangers to come on them. So a bunch of us gathered up and we're cleaning up. Wonderful people. I felt completely safe in leaving her in their hands. And they were aware that I was going back, and they knew that I had come out there to help her get settled in. And she is still hooked up with a bunch of these people, and now they're in Portside, Arizona, which is, further south where they go for the winter. And she's doing quite well. So I knew part of my trip was for her. to help her, but it was for me too. It was for both of us to bring me through, to realize that it's never too late to say yes to life. It's never too late to say yes to life. And here you see that beautiful full moon on the fall equinox. Y'all, I hardly slept at all that night. I just, in the light and coming through the tent, it was just so beautiful. I just kept getting up and looking at the full moon. And as an aside, did everybody here see the lunar eclipse this week? Friday morning, Thursday night, Friday morning. I actually set my alarm for 3:30 a.m. I went outside in my pajamas and froze my butt off, and I sat out there and I watched the eclipse. It was absolutely spectacular. The shadow of the earth covering, it was absolutely spectacular. I didn't stay and watch the whole thing because it was a long eclipse, but it was beautiful. So say yes to life. And it brought me back to some affirmations, I like to say. And one of my affirmations that I've used for years, and this is one I share with my daughter all the time, who's younger and trying to get her life going. And, when you're young, you still tend to blame others and point fingers and, have excuses. And so I tell her all the time, sweetie, if it is to be, it is up to me. You're the one in charge of your life. And I realized I needed to say that for me. If it is to be, it is up to me to say yes to life. Life is what we make it. We all have to deal with our own personal biographies. We all have our stories. We each have our individual paths of destiny, that we're following. We have challenges to overcome, but we also have attributes and gifts that support us in our journey. But in the end, life is what you make it. I've recently had this affirmation returned to me, as I said, having a talk with my daughter, and she was going on and talking to my mind, so I shared it with her. And it was a little bit later I realized, no, that wasn't for her. I was saying that for me. Now this may seem random, to bring up the Friday morning eclipse, but I think that's significant. Because when you look at this, and if you read what these eclipses portray, that this lunar eclipse, which was lined with the north node, is our opportunity to look forward. So now, I want to leave this with you to think about, because we're still in the energy of that lunar eclipse. So now is a really good time to be thinking of your life in the years ahead. What is it you want to accomplish in your life? In whatever years, whatever life you have left. And it doesn't have to be something grand or glorious. It's just what in your heart is calling you to fulfillment. As I think about that, I want to just leave you with this idea that it is to be, it is up to me. I want us to go back to this welcoming prayer. This prayer, I think, is so significant and so important. So as if you will, let's go ahead and, if you want, you can close your eyes and get comfortable. Just sit comfortably and center your thoughts and calm your mind. You can take in a breath. Scan your body for any feelings or sensations. Just become aware of them. Scan your mind for any feelings. Sink into the feelings. The issue is in the tissue. And whatever you may be feeling right now, I want you to welcome it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome the fear. Welcome the anxiety, the worry. Whatever it may be, welcome it into this presence of spirit. I welcome everything that comes to me today because I know it is for my healing. I welcome all thoughts, feelings, emotions, persons, situations, and conditions. I let go. I let go of my desire for power and control. I let go of my desire for affection, esteem, approval, and pleasure. I let go of my desire for survival and security. I let go of my desire to change any situation, condition, person, or myself. I open to the love and presence of Spirit and Spirit's action within. And with a thankful heart, I give thanks to the action of Spirit working in my life. And so it is. Your lesson for today.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, then let's go ahead and stand together. We'll say our prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever God is, we are, and all is well. I think I got that.
I think that's
Hey, it works that way too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it really does. So, all right. Thanks so